The Nashville Predators evened up their series against Vancouver by winning in the second period and not losing in the third period.
You're Locked On Predators, your daily podcast on the Nashville Predators, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Predators podcast, and thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We are your free daily Nashville Predators podcast. We're a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Want to kick off our Wednesday post-game episode with a shout out to our Locked On Pred heads. Those are our everyday listeners who tune in to talk Nashville Predators hockey with us every Monday through Friday. We appreciate your support. We love sharing a bit of your day with you, and we're glad that you guys are probably limping through this Wednesday the same way we are. I'm Ann Kimmel. I'm a writer at Penalty Box Radio, usually joined by my partner in crime, Nick Morgan, but Nick is off today. I don't even know for sure how we're going to unpack what happened last night in Game 2 of Nashville series against the Vancouver Canucks. This is going to feel a little bit like solving a Rubik's Cube blindfolded on a tilt-a-whirl after chugging Fireball. But we're going to try to piece together just how the Nashville Predators skated away with a 4-1 win in a game in which block shots for Nashville was high, shots on goal for Nashville were low, and the rest of the stats just plain lie about the outcome. There's a lot we've got to dig into to try to unpack this. Of course, before we dive into all of that, I do want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. Visit FanDuel.com/locked on to get started. Nashville Predators won Game 2 against the Vancouver Canucks to even the series at 1 game apiece. They are on their way back to Bridgestone Arena for games 3 and 4, but it was not a game that you are picturing in your head when I tell you the Predators won by a score of 4-1. Everything that you think when you hear that final score, yeah, it's probably not right. Of course, those of you who tune into Locked On Predators, you know we always kick off our game recap episodes with one word to describe the game. Got to tell you, I was feeling a little bit speechless late last night, early this morning after watching that game, especially the third period. Oh, we are going to talk about that third period. So I asked you all, what was your one word to describe last night's game? I love you guys sharing your one words. It kind of helps flesh out the picture for everybody. Quasimodo's Pants on Twitter. Gotta love that. Said blocked. Going to talk about that quite a bit. Actually, Liz with 3 Z's said determined. Barry V, I love this word, Barry V, anomaly, 100% anomaly. If you were to chart this game based on stats and result, it would be such an outlier for a Predators win, and we'll talk about why that is. Mid-Tennessee Bob, stressful, actually was exhausted when the game was over and had trouble falling asleep because just everything was so tense from that game, especially, again, third period. Evan, your one word is bruises. 100% sure the Predators are agreeing with you. And Virgil, your one word, guts. Feel like you guys did a great job sort of summarizing just a crazy game, a very hard to describe game. My one word, I'm throwing it to the movies, and my one word is Castaway. Hopefully you all have seen this great Tom Hanks movie called Castaway. The way that it's laid out, you kick off with a slow ramp up that introduces these characters, Chuck and Kelly. Chuck works for FedEx. Then you have this huge drama happening. Chuck is on a FedEx flight that crashes. He is stranded on an island. He is the lone survivor from this crash. And then in the movie, you have about 45 minutes of Tom Hanks on the island just trying to figure out how to live and how to survive. Eventually, after 4 years of trying to survive on this island, he constructs a raft. He is rescued by a cargo ship. he ends up saving, and I think this is so interesting, one of the FedEx packages that was on the plane with him when it crashed. And in the end of the movie, he delivers that package to the recipient, which just kind of a fun way to end it. This game was cast away. Okay, very slow ramp up with kind of an early goal for the Predators in the first period. Then there was a lot of drama in the second period offensively for Nashville with a couple of quick goals to give the Predators a lead. And then that third period, friends, that third period was all about survival for the Nashville Predators because the Canucks absolutely dominated puck possession. We're going to talk about the specific stats in a minute, but when I say dominated puck possession in the third period, I really need you to hear me say dominated. Nashville did, of course, end up with a couple of late power play chances in the third period that helped seal a 4-1 win. What do we need to know about this game? What's the big story of this game? Friends, the big story, that third period. If you did not happen to see the game, or if you, like any sane person, went to bed at a reasonable hour and missed the third period, I'm going to do my very best to paint an accurate picture of what happened. But trust me when I say it is probably even worse than what you're picturing in your mind. One of my favorite lines from a musical, it's one of my tattoos. Billy Elliot says, "I can't really explain it. I haven't got the words." That's me trying to put this third period into correct perspective for anybody who didn't see it. Now, remember, Nashville was up 3-1 to start the third. They had to kill off the remainder of a late second period penalty committed by Zucker Rhymes with Hooker. Nashville did kill off that penalty, but they could not tilt the ice. We talk about Corsi 4 here at Locked On Predators. Corsi 4 is a percentage, and it's an indicator of puck possession. In game one, in the 60 minutes of that game, Vancouver had the advantage, 55% to 45%. Let me tell you what the third period Corsi 4 statistics were. In the third period of last night's game, Vancouver had 90%, 90% of the puck possession. And that is not an exaggeration. Thank goodness for those two very late power play chances for Nashville that kind of boosted Nashville into double digits of Corsi 4. Because when I tell you the Predators spent almost all of the third period in the defensive zone, I mean almost all of the third period in the defensive zone, not transitioning, not watching Vancouver slowly transition through the neutral zone. I mean, taking face-offs in the defensive zone and playing defense for 18 minutes in that third period. So how in the world, if they were under this much pressure, if they had so little puck possession, how in the world did Nashville hang on to win this game? Well, I pieced together the comments from Filip Forsberg, Roman Josi, and Ryan McDonough, and I'm going to let them tell you what they think were keys to coming away with a 4-1 win when they were absolutely under siege in this game.
But at the end of the day, like I touched on earlier, I think the sacrifice and the shot blocking was the reason, and phenomenal goaltending as well.
That was huge. Our kill was great. They had some looks. They had a lot of power plays, and they moved it pretty well. But Juuse was great in that. Our kill did a great job. Again, sacrificing and blocking shots, and obviously sometimes you need some luck too, and we had that tonight.
That's the level that we needed to raise from game one, and that's what we talked about. So that's a great sign. That's what we're going to need. Just keep building on that, and obviously, probably spent a lot of time in our zone, but it doesn't have to be pretty at this time of the year, and our group will be better next time in those situations. And yeah, he did his thing. It's just incredible. The way he prepares and stays focused in there and never quits on a play and just seems to track that puck so well. So obviously, you never want to rely on your goalie that much, but at the end of the day, he's one of our best players and he wants to win more than anyone. So it's great to see him get rewarded with a heck of a game.
So the Predators came away with a 4-1 win, blocked shots, Juuse Saros, and a whole lot of guts. So let's dive in and talk about those blocked shots. In this game, Nashville finished the game with 30 blocked shots compared to Vancouver's 8. Nearly half of those blocks came in the third period. And I want to call out one specific player because it's somebody we called out about performances in game one, Alexander Carrier. Alexander Carrier spent a lot of time on the ice last night, especially in that third period, especially on the penalty kill. Came up really big for Nashville, had 6 blocked shots, the most of anybody, but they were all out there blocking shots. I know Alexander Carrier kind of had a defensive mistake that cost the Predators that quick 12-second later goal to kind of turn the game over to Vancouver in game 1. Alexander Carrier came out and blocked shots like his life depended on it. And here's what's real. Blocked shots were a huge difference maker. Nashville stayed committed to holding on to that lead. The lead was very important for Nashville to have to start that third period. They had gone through that in game 1 where they had a lead and lost it. Nashville knew they could not repeat losing a lead in game 2 and find a way to come back and regain the lead. So blocked shots in the third period was really the big story of this game. Andrew Brunette was asked about the game as well, kind of, what did you see from your team? How did they win this game? And I loved one of his comments. This is what he had to say.
Where was the game won? I think it was won in the second period. And I thought the third period, we were committed to the pain. And I think something that maybe game 1, we learned from a little bit. Maybe weren't quite as committed to the pain. I thought in tonight, with the block shots and the things that we did, sacrificing our body, so we learned, and we're still growing. We're not where we want to be, but we're getting better, and today was a good step.
A bit of an unconventional third period there. I mean, it just seemed like you couldn't get the puck back to create any transition. I mean, what are the conversations like on the bench from your perspective to the guys to try to get something going and get out of your own zone?
Well, I mean, they want to win too, and I think they were desperate. Maybe, we got on our heels a little bit. Thought we had some pretty good shifts here and there, but we put a game away, and it wasn't always going to be pretty. It's going to be muddy. Game 1 was the same thing. It's a muddy game, and they do a good job in defending and in-your-face kind of hockey, and we're going to have shifts. We're going to have time in our own zone. It's not going to be perfect. I think we have some work to do a little bit, but at the same time, growth for our group for a game like this, because it's not going to be pretty. I think every game is going to be kind of like this, and it was good for us to feel it a little bit. And I think game 1, even though you lost that little stretch of 12 seconds, I think it was good for us, because I think it's showing us that we need a little bit more, and we got a little bit more tonight, so that's a step.
I love the phrase that Bruno used. He talked about we were committed to the pain. And that's what the third period was. Definitely physically for the Nashville Predators with tons of blocked shots. It was a high pressure situation for Juuse Saros. We're going to talk about his performance coming up here in just a minute. It was also a little bit painful for Nashville Predators fans to watch. That was a tough third period, probably one of the hardest periods to watch all season long, because Nashville, again, absolutely under fire. 90% Corsi for puck possession time in the offensive zone for the Vancouver Canucks in front of Juuse Saros and the Predators defense. They were able to hang on. One of the things we need to talk about, Saros' performance. Another thing that we might want to wrestle with, did Vancouver lose this game or did the Predators win this game? We're going to wrestle with that question coming up here in just one moment. First, want to let you know today's episode is brought to you by our friends at eBay Motors. Passion, drive, and patience. That's the formula for winning championships. It's also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. From superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay's Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only, exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit only available to U.S. customers. This episode is also brought to you by FanDuel. April may be the most wonderful sports time of the year. It is playoff time in the NBA. It is playoff time in the NHL. Baseball is in full swing, and FanDuel is your place to bet on every game. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets guaranteed. That's $150 win or lose. You can bet on everything from slap shots to home runs to slam dunks, all on an app that is safe, secure, and easy to use. So what are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and make your first bet an automatic win. FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. So the Nashville Predators are going to be welcoming the Vancouver Canucks to Bridgestone Arena for games 3 and 4 this weekend. On tomorrow's show, we're going to do a special playoff plus minus segment looking at the big and small pluses and minuses from the first 2 games. We're also going to talk about the adjustments we need to see from Nashville to get those home wins. On Friday's episode, we want to talk about what you want to talk about. We want you to send us your questions and comments about Nashville's first round series so far. Got a burning question? Do you have a hot take? Do you want to put your prediction out there publicly? We want you to drop us a comment on this YouTube video page or find us on Twitter at LO_Predators. We want you to share your thoughts and then we'll discuss them on our Friday episode. Last night, Predators evened up the series with a 4-1 win in Game 2. How did they do that? We talked about blocked shots. We got to talk about Juuse Saros. Definitely needed Saros's best performance in the third period under that kind of pressure. Vancouver had 30-plus shot attempts in the third period. That's in the third period, my friends. In the third period. Only 6 got through. Again, Nashville did a great job blocking shots. Only 6 got through. Juuse Saros had guys in front of him blocking shots, but that doesn't necessarily mean his job was tons easier because Saros still has to be tracking that puck. He has to try to see through the players blocking shots in front of him. He has to be able to see the release and anticipate where it may be going. He had to come up with some good saves in the third period. Vancouver had 10 high danger chances in the third period, but Juuse Saros was able to keep the puck out of the net in that third period, ended the game with a .944 save percentage, stopped 17 of 18 shots on goal. Now you may be asking yourself, wait a minute, Juuse Saros only faced 18 shots on goal in this game. I thought Vancouver was in the offensive zone and had the puck for 90% of the time in the third period. Well, 2 things can be true at the same time. Saros did only face 18 shots on goal, and the Vancouver Canucks were in the offensive zone 90% of the third period. So it makes you kind of wrestle with this question. And it's a question I suspect Canucks fans are having a lot of angst over this morning. Did the Predators win this game, or did Vancouver lose this game? And I think that's a pretty interesting question. It was really odd. So the Predators under assault when it came to puck possession time, but Vancouver only again had 6 shots on goal in the third period. They had over 30 missed shots. And there were several opportunities for Vancouver, opportunities where the Canucks had golden chances at a fairly wide open net, and they just didn't finish. They just didn't get the puck in there. And it comes down to a couple of things, but I think the big one, and I hate to say this, but I think it comes down to the fact that the hockey gods were merciful to the Nashville Predators. After the game, Vancouver Canucks head coach Rick Tocchet talked about the players and talked about that third period, having all of that possession time, but not being able to convert. And he wondered if maybe some of his players were feeling a little bit hesitant shooting the puck after missing some opportunities. You know, there were several chances where Saros was playing the puck, was out of position. The puck was literally right there and Vancouver couldn't finish. And I wonder if Rick Tocchet is right. I wonder if that kind of frustration about how are we having the puck all this time and yet we can't convert on some of these high danger chances maybe fed into something mentally for the Canucks. Now, Nashville did a good job kind of keeping Vancouver to the outside. but Vancouver didn't finish the chances that they had in close around the crease. Tuck had said maybe some of the players got frustrated with missed opportunities, missing the open net. Vancouver hit the post a couple of times. And it makes you wonder, were they kind of in their head a little bit looking for the perfect shot, second guessing what they're seeing? Maybe they're like, instead of shooting the puck, they're choosing pass instead. Whatever the reason, Vancouver's hesitation was a large part of Nashville's salvation in the third period. And I think it's really interesting because Vancouver is a very good team in that net front real estate, but they just couldn't capitalize in the few times the puck got through the blocks and the traffic to finish those shots. JT Miller, Quinn Hughes each had 3 shots on goal in this game, but like Brock Besser, only 1. Elias Pettersson, no shots on goal. Connor Garland, no shots on goal. Vancouver had pressure, but it was almost like they didn't have the urgency. And I think that was really interesting to watch from Vancouver because they had every chance in that third period. When you look at the statistics, 90% of the puck possession, 10 high danger chances for, you have your best players, you have 100+ points scored, JT Miller out there on the ice. You look at the statistics and you say, of course, Vancouver is going to tie this game up and score some goals in that third period, but they couldn't do it. Some of it, Nashville blocked shots, some of it, Juuse Saros. Some of that is on Vancouver. And it's something I'm certain that they're going to have some regret about. It's something that I think is going to fuel pushback in game 3 that the Predators are going to have to be prepared for. There are a couple other takeaways we have to talk about. Let's talk about what Nashville did do offensively with the little bit of puck possession they had. Nashville finished the game with just 16 shots on goal. Yeah, that's right. You heard me. I didn't lie. 16 shots on goal. Remember, Nashville averaged 32 shots on goal per game in the regular season, 8th best in the league. Yeah, only 16 shots on goal. A little bit surprising that Nashville ended up with 4 goals. Of course, you can say, well, Thatcher Demko wasn't in net, but Casey DeSmith, I thought, played a really good game. Let's talk about the goals that Nashville got. Anthony Beauviller got Nashville on the board at 114. This was a tip-in goal. The tip-in came from, kind of high up in the circle. You're going to need some more net front traffic to kind of generate the tip-in goals that we're used to seeing from players like Ryan O'Reilly. But the puck kind of bounced off of Beauviller's stick, and there really was no way for DeSmith to kind of get back into position to play that. Friends, put your stick on the puck. Doesn't have to be pretty. There are no style points in hockey. We've been kind of critical and really watching Anthony Beauvillier since they picked him up at the trade deadline. Haven't seen a ton from him. I think some of the hesitation to be all in on Beauvillier is also because he's taking a spot from Cody Glass that I think Predators fans want to see Glass get kind of another chance back in the lineup. Interestingly enough, Beauvillier may have been a game time decision. Yesterday, Andrew Brunette said that Glass and Fabro were going to be game time decisions, and I suspect Glass would have come in for Beauvillier. So I think it's interesting that Beauvillier stayed in the lineup. Awfully great that he got Nashville on the board just 1:14 into the game. This goal was so important for the Predators. Settled the team down early. You aren't playing from behind. I think it probably helped flush kind of that feeling that lingered from that 12-second 2-goal lead shift change in game 1. So I think that early goal kind of helped flush kind of that sludge, that emotional sludge out for Nashville. Nashville also, quite frankly, needed the security of a lead in the first period. They committed 3 first-period penalties. Vancouver, in the first period, 75% in Corsi for percentage. So they really, again, had the puck a ton in the first period. Filip Forsberg scored in the second period, 6:29 into the period. What was the biggest disappointment? And one of the biggest topics of conversation after game 1, where was Filip Forsberg? Well, friends, Filip Forsberg showed up. Your best players have to be your best players. And we saw some of the best from Filip Forsberg in that brief moment where he scored in the second period. Ryan O'Reilly, Forsberg, Nyquist had just a small amount of offensive zone time in that second period where Forsberg scored. They battled for the puck. This is what is true and honest. When I saw Filip Forsberg corral that puck, have it on his stick, and heading towards the net, didn't we all know what was going to happen? Don't we all know by now that when you see Filip Forsberg with that kind of space headed towards the net and the puck securely on his stick, you know he's going to score a goal. And he did, lifted it over Casey DeSmith to give the Predators that 2-0 lead. Colton Sissons, just a minute and a half later, Vancouver turned the puck over as they were exiting the defensive zone. Zucker arrives with Hooker, chased down the puck, but Beauviller put the shot on goal. Sissons skated in to clean up the rebound. Friends, go to the net. Good things happen when you go to the net. It was a quick goal, but you know what? Nashville had to score quick goals because they weren't going to be able to score goals where they set up in their offensive zone in front of DeSmith and passed the puck around and wore down the Vancouver Canucks defensively to get the perfect shot. That was not the game that happened last night. So those quick goals by Filip Forsberg, the quick goal by Colton Sissons to kind of capitalize on a little tiny mistake for Vancouver, so important. Of course, there was the empty net goal by Kiefer Sherwood. And I know that it might not make the highlight reel. You know, it's an empty net goal. But friends, first of all, that was a frosty goal. So hit up Wendy's. But also, you want to give a shout out to Kiefer Sherwood. This was a Predators team absolutely under siege in the third period. And Kiefer Sherwood was out on the ice for a lot of that time. JT Miller won a faceoff, but Kiefer Sherwood did a great job to sort of interrupt his pass back to the blue line. And here is where Sherwood's speed became a factor. He was able to get that puck, get around Quinn Hughes, and stay just ahead enough of Quinn Hughes and Elias Pettersson, who came to kind of try to help out to get that empty net goal. Plays like that make me wonder what they're going to do with Sherwood, who is not under contract next season. So file that play away is maybe something that the Predators are going to have to weigh out when they talk about who could or couldn't replace Sherwood in the lineup next season. Nashville's going to need more of that kind of offense in the postseason. They're going to need more Forsberg. They are going to need more tip-ins, more deflections, more net front traffic. They're going to need more of those quick crash the net, clean up the rebound goals. They're going to need to capitalize on some speed. Coming up, we're going to wrap up this game recap with the one other aspect of Nashville's game last night that we can safely say did help the Predators win. We're going to talk about the penalty kill. We're going to do that in just a minute. First, I want to let you know today's episode brought to you by Sleeper. Few things are as exciting as the NHL playoffs, and you can add to that excitement and win big by playing daily fantasy hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. Sleeper is our number one choice for daily fantasy sports, especially daily fantasy hockey, because with Sleeper, you can win 100 times your cash in daily fantasy hockey contests. Sleeper is a fun and easy way to get involved as the Predators and Canucks battle in this first round. All you have to do is pick whether players like Josi, O'Reilly, Pettersson, DeSmith are going to record more or less than their Sleeper projections for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. To win a 100 times bet on Sleeper, you must correctly predict the outcome of 8 player stats. That's right. You can win 100 times your money playing daily fantasy hockey with Sleeper. So start paying attention and nail your picks so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you're going to get up to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availabilities. Today's episode is also brought to you by Indeed. When you drafted your hockey fantasy team back in October, did you take a moment and think, man, I wish I could handpick the best stars for my business team? If you're building your talent roster, you need Indeed. Indeed is the hiring platform where you can attract, interview, and hire all in one place. Don't spend hours on multiple job sites looking for candidates with the right skills when you can do it all with Indeed. You can find top talent fast with Indeed's suite of powerful hiring tools like matching, assessments, and virtual interviews. Sponsor a job and Indeed will match you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed fit your job description right when you post. With Indeed, you can start hiring fast. The right candidate is doing everything they can to find you. And if you use Indeed, you can be sure you're doing everything you can to find them too. Join over 3 million businesses worldwide using Indeed to hire great talent fast. Indeed knows when you're growing your own business, you have to make every dollar count. That's why with Indeed, you only pay for quality applications that match your must-have job description. Visit Indeed.com/locked-on to start hiring now. Again, Indeed.com/locked-on. Terms and conditions apply. Cost per application pricing not available for everyone. Need to hire? You need Indeed. We're going to be wrapping up this week again, talking about your thoughts on this series. How are you feeling, Preds fans? And hey, Canucks fans who are joining us for this series, as long as you're kind, we want to hear from you too. And actually, you guys have been delightful. Love having you here. After 2 games, what do you think of the series? What do you need to see in games 3 and 4? How do you see this series wrapping up? Well, share your thoughts with us. We're going to talk about it on Friday's episode. Just drop your comment, question, hot take, your prediction on this YouTube video, or share your question on Twitter at @LO_Predators. Last night, tough third period to watch. A tougher game to believe that Nashville would win, but they ended up winning 4-1. They evened up the series, and friends, they are headed back to Bridgestone Arena for games 3 and 4 this weekend, and it is going to be amazing. There are, of course, plenty of opportunities for improvement, but let's talk about one area that Nashville has done very well with in these 2 games, especially key in the win last night, and that is the penalty kill. Vancouver finished the regular season 11th in the league for their power play percentage. Their big 4 are very, very good at 5-on-4 in the regular season. Brock Besser, 16 power play goals. Elias Pettersson, 13 power play goals. Of course, JT Miller scoring 10 power play goals. Quinn Hughes, 38 power play points. Last night was a night where Nashville committed some really frustrating penalties, some poorly timed penalties, something that they were really good about cleaning up during that 18-game point streak. The penalties kind of crept in again to their game at the end of the regular season. You don't want to see that. 2 of these penalties landed 2 of the best penalty killers in the box, Colton Sissons and Ryan McDonagh. Friends, when Ryan McDonagh is in the box on a penalty kill, I sweat like a Baptist at a bar. You want him on the ice for the penalty kill. Predators have done a great job keeping the Canucks from scoring on the power play. They've gone 0 for 6 in 2 games. This is a penalty kill that was bad to start the season. I'm talking BAD, not in the Michael Jackson way, bad. But they have been such an important part of this team's success down the stretch. They were critical in last night's game because the Predators handed Vancouver golden opportunities to score on the power play. And we talk about momentum, special teams and momentum. Now, Nashville didn't generate much momentum off of their kills. You know, Vancouver just continued to come at them. But you have to wonder if Vancouver's lack of success, their inability to capitalize on these golden power play moments, maybe fed into some of the frustration in that third period where Nashville really kind of kept them off of the board and where they just weren't finishing chances. They had 3 power play opportunities in the first period to tie the game, to go ahead of the game. Now, Nashville's got to stop committing penalties. And that's one of the adjustments we're going to talk about on tomorrow's show. So clean that up, but it's very good to be able to see the penalty kill coming in and kind of keeping Nashville in games after penalties. But still, just maybe stay out of the box. There are no snacks in the sin bin. We've talked about stats. We've talked about Corsi 4. We've talked about the penalty kill. We've talked about shots on goal. We've talked about block shots. But ultimately, there is one stat that matters in hockey. That's the final score. Nashville Predators beat the Vancouver Canucks 4-1. Now, I think this game came down to a few small breaks for Nashville. Juuse Saros, block shots, playing, very brave, being willing to commit to the pain, getting kills on the penalty. But I also think a little bit of it is thank you to the hockey gods. Brunette talks about the hockey gods. Sometimes it kind of makes me laugh through the regular season when he talks about, the hockey gods are going to teach you a lesson. But I'm just not sure that there's a better explanation for this game for Nashville than maybe the hockey gods just want to keep things interesting. Things are going to get interesting. Games 3 and 4 coming to Bridgestone Arena. Vancouver, y'all threw a great party, great atmosphere in Vancouver, great energy from the crowd. Let's see what Bridgestone Arena can do. It's going to be packed. It's going to be loud. There's going to be a ton of energy for games 3 and 4. They are Friday and Sunday. Of course, we will break down those games for you ahead of the weekend on our shows. Tomorrow, we're going to talk again, plus minus, some adjustments. Friday, send us your thoughts. What are you thinking about this series? Drop us a comment on this YouTube video. Tweet us at LO_Predators. We're going to break it all down ahead of games 3 and 4 this weekend. That is going to do it for today's episode of the Locked On Predators podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day. We're going to be back tomorrow with an all new episode. We'll see you then.